practicing backpacking and orienteering on a little jaunt here and pace counting. We're having a class next weekend and I want to make sure I boned up for it good. These are pace beads and I have 9 here and 5 here. So every 100 yards I will pull up a bead. And my pace is 68 paces for 100 yards. And so you have to know that ahead of time. Anyway, I'm headed about 150 degrees this way, and I want to just try to get better shape and look over the country up this way as well. I've only been up here once, and so I want to check things out and see what it looks like. And also, I got a pencil and paper here. It's hard to keep track, say once you've won 1,000 yards, and did I go 1,000 or 900 or whatever. So have a pencil and paper with you as well as the map and compass too. I'm just using a compass because I'm following the river here, so I know where I'm at. But mostly getting in shape a little bit better. Well, still got good country I'm going through. I'm headed that way. And this is the point where you can forget if you don't have pace beads. I went 400 yards so far, give or take, and I'm headed 150 degrees that way. The creek is here, so I know exactly where I'm at. But I might forget how far I've went if I don't have something to go by. So pace beads are really cool. This is a beautiful part of the river here. Comes around and goes that way. Beautiful pool down there. Looks like it'd be good fishing. I always forget to bring my pole. Up this way is the way I'm headed, about that way, 150 degrees still. And the river's starting to turn this way, so I may have to change my coordinates a little bit to go along with it. But it's just a safety thing, and I'm more practicing my pacing than anything. Okay, I wanted to stop here for a second and look this area over. And this is where the pencil and paper come in handy. I got 88 paces to here from the last point, so I can write it down, and then I have to remember it, and I can take off again. And I also found it could be raining pretty soon, so I've been having my eye open for tinder, and I did find some over here. Just to always keep aware of where you might find something like that. Down underneath this log right here, this is really nice stuff, and it's hidden underneath, so you got plenty of dry stuff that you can shred up. So good tinder. So I got this neat badger claw thing I put on my belt just for this purpose of carrying tinder. It opens up and I can carry a bunch of tinder in there. And put it back on my belt. One thing I want to caution you about is reaching your hand in a log like that. There could be some spiders in there that you don't want to mess around with. But now I can put this back on my belt and have some good tinder. Well, this is kind of silly, but it points out something you might not think about. I just saw up here a flash of a tail, but it probably was a deer. But a cougar and a deer look the same color-wise right now. And so I kind of wanted to make sure I have my gun ready, and I realized my pack strap's right over this. So you got to get practice of, if you're going to have this place, then you got to practice getting to your gun quickly. like that. So anyway, just something to point out that you might not think about. You got your gun all covered up. Beautiful bunch of water right here. I'm gonna have to head up the hill here, but I wanted to come and look at this first. Really pretty. Nice little island over there, and then a falls down here. I'm in a burn area, and so if it does rain, I don't have a whole lot of protection, but I did bring my poncho and I can use it. So I'm headed up that way now. Well, I'm definitely up here exposed now. You can see the mountains right up that way, and the falls that where the creek runs out of is right up there on that cliffside there. I can feel a few sprinkles, and you can look at the clouds how dark it is, and I'm right out here in the burn area in the open. So I'm gonna hightail it for that ravine right there so that I have some tree protection, and I got to get over all this crazy fall down, burn down stuff though first. Anyway, 150 degrees is that way, so I'm going right where I should. Okay, this is the start of the trail. It's 2.5 miles to that ridge up there where the falls is, and it's raining, so I don't know if you can see me, but I got my poncho on. Anyway, headed back down. Okay, I walked down the road a ways, so I'm off course now. I need to, right down there is the way I came, and so I'm going to go down to the river and get underneath the forest canopy a little bit anyway. It's still raining out. This is the road up here. It'd be the fastest way, but it's the wettest too. Well, I just moved off the road and I found this great canopy. You can see where it's dry here and wet out here, and so I'm going to get underneath the tree here and figure out the damages, how wet I am. Well, the pack is perfectly dry thanks to the poncho right there, and as you can see, kind of, but this forest canopy of 2 trees right here is super. It's ideal. If you look here, it's all dry, and then out there it's wet. So I'm going to stay here until the rain stops. And I don't know if you can hear me with the water here, but I'm back to my starting point, and there's 1,000 meters, or excuse me, yards up to that landing point where the trail starts to the falls. So that means I've went 2,000 meters or yards, and there's around 1,760 yards in a mile. So I went 2,000 yards. So I went over a mile through the forest and doing the pace count, which was good. I ended up right where the 150 degree mark would be, and I've kept dry with the poncho. Now I'm going to see if I can get a place to start a fire maybe here. But good walk, and really enjoyed it. And by the way, on going over logs and up hills and stuff, your pace count gets all screwed up as far as, you know, you're making shorter steps and whatnot. So you should account for that and add on a little bit, or subtract really for the distance, because you're counting pretty quick, short steps, and you really didn't go that far. So I allowed for that when I got up there. Well, I came across this campsite on the other side of the river after I got back, and so I decided to put up the tarp, have lunch, get some coffee going, and get a fire started. I got a bunch of old dead branches up that way, and I'll see if I can get a fire going. Well, I successfully got a fire going here, and now I'm going to have lunch. It's kind of late, 3 o'clock or so, but I have my tarp up and I'm dry. Okay, I got this fire steel from my son. It's retractable. I really hate to use it. It's so beautiful, but I'm sure he wanted me to use it and not just look at it. So I got this tinder that I got back there a while. We'll see if we can get this thing started. There we go. It's a little wet, but anyway, thanks Casey for the fire steel. It's really beautiful. And I'm glad I can retract it so the marks go away and doesn't show right here. But as you can see, it works quite well. And this tinder that I got underneath the log burns quite well. So success all the way around. Just summing up really quick, I forgot to mention one thing which is obvious for the people who know about it, but maybe not for others. I moved up the 9 pace beads up, which makes 900 yards, but I didn't put the next one. So the next 100 yards, I would put all these back down. I don't know if I can do them all at once here, they're kind of stuck. Put all those back down and then put one of these up, and that symbolizes 1,000 yards that way. So just to let you know, then I'd start moving these up for every 100 yards. When I got to 1,000 again, in other words 900 plus one more, then I move one more of these up. And then if you run out of these beads on the right, you just write it down or remember it and then start all over again. So that's pace beading, and works quite well. Usually your steps will be pretty coordinated with what you normally do. So I went over some logs and some debris that shorten the steps, and so at the end I subtracted a little bit, saying that I didn't quite go that far. So you kind of have to compensate a little bit when you can't make the normal pace that you normally do. My paces are 68 paces for 100 yards, and so that's how I count mine. Anyway, a good practice and a good backpack, and now it's not raining after everything's all over and it's really beautiful again. But that's the way it goes. Thank you.